Hey buddy, watch this.
Hello, Regis Kilbin is the name, and Heroes of the Storm is the game, and these are my first impressions of the brand new hero, Medivh. He was just released on the public test realm. I've literally never played a second of Medivh before, so you're going to experience all there is to see about Medivh right alongside me, so hopefully we can learn a little bit about how to use his abilities, take a look at his talents, and see if we can find out which ones look like the best, and maybe even develop a few little strategies or tactics for Medivh along the way. So first things first, I'm super excited about Medivh. I love Warcraft as a game and his lore, so any Warcraft hero that's added is fantastic. So Medivh is pretty amazing looking and a central character to the Warcraft story, so I'm pretty excited about this one. Let's go ahead and jump right into Medivh's basic stats. We're at level 20, you'll see, for Medivh. So he's at 3,224 health. This makes him pretty low on the health scale. It's not as low as some really squishy heroes who might come in at 2,900 to 3,000. He's just a little higher than that, but still very susceptible as far as his health pool is concerned. And when we look at auto attacks, he's hitting for 143, so not very good there either. The attack speed's not too bad, but he's not going to be pumping out a ton of auto attacks all on his own. So let's just look at his abilities next. The most notable one, I think, is probably his mount. It's an alternate mount form called a ravin form with a 1-second cooldown, which is really short for a mount, right? Most mounts have a longer cooldown. You can't just spam mounts on most heroes. But this one allows you to transform into a ravin, increasing your movement speed by 15%. You'll note that's actually lower than a standard mounted speed, so the cooldown's lower, so you can mount up really quickly and go into ravin form, but he's not keeping up with his teammates if you're traveling really far across the map. While transformed, Medivh can see and fly over terrain and is immune to all effects. So it has a little channel that can be canceled, I guess, just like a normal mount, but once you're up here, right, no one can attack you. There's nothing they can do, and you can just fly into the enemy forts and see anything you want to see, right? You don't even clip into the fort. So this is an insane scouting tool. I guess you can even fly into the enemy's core. I don't know if that works in the live version, but that's pretty nifty. So this is like maybe the best vision talent in the game in a way, since you're just totally, you can go anywhere you want and ignore all the rules and see everything. So it gives Medivh like an insane amount of utility right off the bat. You can also soak XP, I presume. We can actually test that and see if we get XP as minions die, but I can't imagine, as long as you're within the normal soak range, it should seem like you'll get all the XP, and I'm sure we will once the first minion dies here. It's going to take a little while. So, you know, you can otherwise just lane with impunity. Not that you'd want to necessarily, but it's certainly possible to just hang out in a lane and soak without dying, even if there are like 3 or 4 enemies there. So that's a pretty cool trick. Yeah, so we get the plus XP, so that works just fine. I think this is the coolest mount in the game, right? It just offers your team so many neat little tricks and things you can pull off. You can scout, you can even type while you're up here, right? Because you're not going to die. So in Hero League or even Quick Match, you can kind of delegate teammates. I see this, I see that. It's a pretty neat new mechanic that Heroes of the Storm has never had before. So I think it's going to be really awesome and very helpful, and makes Medivh incredibly unique. So let's go ahead and jump into his Q ability. This is called Arcane Rift at 60 mana with a 7-second cooldown. So fairly expensive, but not crazy. Cooldown's relatively short, but not the shortest ever. Launch a rift that deals 399 damage to enemies in its path. If an enemy hero is hit, reduce its cooldown by 5 seconds. And refund 30 mana. So we can see this against minions. It sounds like it works on minions and heroes. And the range is fairly long, so it's really good. It's pretty solid wave clear, right? And as long as you catch a hero with it too, it's insanely good wave clear because the cooldown just keeps getting reset. So if you're good at aiming this, you can like spam it forever. That's pretty fantastic in early laning, I feel like. It's gonna clear minions, and if the enemy is not smart about where they line up on minion waves, if they're just lining up right in the middle of a minion wave, which a lot of people do, you're going to get crazy value because you'll just be able to spam a 30 mana ability, right? Like he he juked us there, Arthas did, but you'll see here we'll just be able to spam basically. It's pretty crazy. And 399 is nothing to scoff at, even at level 20. It's substantial. It's not going to kill people, right? It's not even like a Thrall or Butcher auto attack, but it'll add up over the course of a team fight, particularly if you hit multiple people with it, as you very well might. Next up is Force of Will. This is really the defining ability of Medivh. I think the thing that scares a lot of people about him. This is a 50 mana, 5-second cooldown, right? 5 seconds, really short cooldown for a defensive ability. Protect an allied hero from all damage for 1.5 seconds. Now you can't cast this. You can't cast this on yourself, I guess. Oh, cool. That makes it even better. So we can test it then that way. We actually don't need Arthas. We'll just use some towers. So it lasts for 1.5 seconds, which isn't the longest time ever. But you'll note that those 2 tower shots were just totally negated. Didn't affect us at all. So it's not like a shield that gives you health, maybe from Tassadar, as you might expect. This is more like an Uther Divine Shield, but only for damage, okay? It's not for crowd control effects. So you can still get rooted, I think. Perhaps if the root is tied to damage, it may not stick, but specifically just crowd control abilities would still hit you here, I think. The range, as you can see on my screen, is nuts, so you don't even have to be close by. This is a crazy long range, so you can just kind of be anywhere in safety with your little low health pool and keep an allied teammate alive. I do think that it's a little OP because it is like a heroic almost with the Uther Divine Shield on a 5-second cooldown, and it's not expensive to cast. So this will be up in teamfights a lot. So really good Medivhs will be able to negate really powerful stuff. They'll just be able to shut down the Nova Precision Strikes, for instance, right? They can totally deny a dive on an allied Morales, for instance. They can just wipe out all that burst that happens. So if you're conscious of all the different kinds of bursts that the enemies can put out, this will just be insane. It's going to be even better in competitive play with organized teams who know how to use it and have a lot of coordination. I don't think it'll be that great in quick match because not everybody will realize that it's there and that it's coming and that they can rely on it. So Force of Will, I think the better the players are using it, the more useful it'll be, but it's undeniably a powerful ability, just not necessarily always a good one. I would put it that way. But since you can use it on yourself too, I mean, I can imagine Medivhs who are just kind of flying all over the place and getting into trouble and causing chaos with their Qs, hitting lots of people. So it gives you kind of an out as well. It's like your own escape. The visual is not super obvious. Like it's nice big bubble, I guess, right? But I don't know. In the chaos of a team fight, I'm not sure that your teammates will always realize that they're bubbled. And 1.5 seconds is not necessarily enough for people to automatically react. Like by the time they notice the bubble and realize it's there, it's too late for them to alter their decisions, probably in many cases. In other words, they might be running away instead of stopping to drop that one last skill shot because they see the bubble and know they can survive. They might just keep running away. So that's why organized teams will be much better with Force of Will. After that, I actually want to try one thing I was thinking about. When you're in Raven form, can you just cast abilities and drop yourself out of... Yeah, you can. Okay, that's super cool. So you'll note I didn't have to cancel Raven form or anything. If I'm casting abilities, it will do it for me. I just pop right out on the ground and start casting. That's really powerful because you can kind of fly into the enemy team or fly somewhere and instantly activate yourself. So it's a really neat positioning tool essentially at the start of an engagement. But let's move on to his E ability called Portal. This is 75 mana, which is pretty expensive. 20-second cooldown, which is really long. That's you're not going to get to use this often, right? Create a set of portals between you and the target location, allowing allies to teleport between both. The portals last 6 seconds. So your first portal, I don't know why there are 2 ranges here. When I hover the E, you'll see a large outer circle and a shorter inner circle, and I don't know why. I don't know what those indicate. Why is there a... If you're allowed to put it on the far outer circle, what does the inner blue circle mean? I don't know, but anyway, the one portal goes at your location, and the other one goes at a far location. So if you've got allies out here who are in trouble, like, oh my gosh, I'm about to die, butcher's on my butt, you can cast this portal, and they'll be able to run through this portal. And it's actually a little bit channeled. I mean, it's a really short channel, I guess, but most likely they'll be able to run through that portal and get out of here to safety. So you can use it to essentially manipulate and control your teammates' movement, which is pretty cool. Like, it has escape utility. It has actually no chasing utility unless you're the one out front ahead of your teammates who are trying to catch up. I don't know what this... Oh, I see. You can't cast it any closer. I get it. That's a minimum range. Or I guess, yeah, minimum range. So it has to be at least that far away. So you can only cast it inside this range. I get it now. I don't know that would matter too much. And you usually would want to cast it that close to yourself. But anyway, that does add a layer of complexity. And sometimes it might matter. But anyway, really powerful high utility spell again, much like his W, but the best in capable hands. And it's got a 6-second duration, so I think that should be more than enough usually to be utilized. I don't think that's going to feel like the pressure. There might be some near misses here and there if you're trying to think ahead and set somebody up, but that's another just layer of skill for Medivh. Like, you got to cast your portal at the right time to make sure the teammates can access it. So I really like this. I mean, it's also, that's pretty cool. You can use it both ways, right? Like, it's not just for allies escaping. You can also essentially jump ahead in space, right? Like, you can cast it out here and teleport yourself. So it's like a chase utility in a sense too. So even if you've got 3 allies with you and the enemy's running really far away, you can use this. You can all hop in the portal and you're out here to kill the guy. So I guess it works both ways, escape and chase, and you know, positioning surprises. Like, if the enemy team's expecting you to approach from this way towards an objective, you can cast your portal back here, and you can all come in from the bottom, right? Like, there's different little things you can do to utilize this in a lot of ways. So super fun, potentially very powerful ability in organized teams. I think we're going to see some cool professional plays where they do exactly that, right? Like, they just switch sides of the battlefield and trap opponents or approach objectives in a really surprising or unusual way. That's pretty nifty. So that's actually it for Medivh's basic abilities. I want to go ahead and, even though we're going to go through all his talents later, I want to look at his heroic abilities first. And these might be a little hard to see in action in try mode specifically, but we'll do our best. The first is Polybomb. 75 mana, 40-second cooldown ability. 40 seconds is really short for heroic, and this is a powerful one. I've seen it in action. Polymorph an enemy hero, suppressing their attacks and silencing them for 2 seconds. So this is a 2-second polymorph. That's also really, really good. Even really as a single target ability, that's not that bad on a 40-second cooldown. But on expiration of that 2 seconds, Polybomb spreads to other nearby enemy heroes. So we're not going to be able to see this in action, really. I mean, we can take a look at the animations, but we're not going to get to see the spreading and the bomb here in try mode. But we'll cast this on Arthas, and he's going to turn into a cute little sheep, and you'll see that outer circle there. Essentially, when that outer circle ended, when he stopped being a sheep, anyone that's his friend in that circle is also going to turn into a sheep with their own little circle. So essentially, you can kind of chain sheep polymorphs among the enemy team, creating a situation where they're all just locked down, basically forever. So it's kind of a Kael'thas chain bomb effect, right? But it's CC based instead of damage based, and that's actually crazy. Just using it on a single target, like I said, could win a fight. But if it hits 2 or 3 people at any given moment, that's just so long that they're out of commission that your team can just pounce and destroy. I think this is actually another ability. It's probably not that good in disorganized play, but on an organized team that can capitalize on these crowd control effects, and so it's basically a silence effect more than a crowd control effect. But if you can capitalize on that silence, it's game over, right? If you hit a couple people, it's just absolutely game over. So there are some combos, basically, right? Any ability that might trap multiple heroes in a tight location or stun them all clumped up together. You can cast Polymorph at the same time, and you're much more likely to chain those stuns because they'll have difficulty getting out of it. So it could go absolutely crazy, but if your team's not good enough to capitalize on it, Medivh himself doesn't have the damage to like kill somebody thanks to a Polymorph Bomb or make a big play. So it's going to be difficult to use on your own. There is also, if we can reset our talents here, there's also Leyline Seal. After 0.5 seconds, unleash a wave of energy that imprisons enemy heroes in stasis for 3 seconds. So this is kind of a Zeratul Void Prison, right? But it's in a line instead, and it kind of moves slowly. And we can see what it looks like on Arthas here. Probably if we can hit a skill shot. Anyone that's hit by that little traveling wave is essentially trapped in their own little void prison for a few seconds, as you can see here. That's kind of cool, right? But the thing that's not always great about stasis is that you can't attack them while they're in stasis. You know, they're untargetable. They're literally in stasis. They're just locked out. So using this well essentially would look like if you had a line of 5 enemy heroes, right? You could cast Leyline Seal. The first one would catch stasis. Then later, the second one would catch stasis. So while the first one's in stasis, you maybe can't do much. But as soon as that second one goes in stasis, or the ones behind them, or people start fleeing out of the Leyline Seal, you and your team can basically jump on the first person that got stuck out on their own and finish them off. And then you've got the next guy queued up. Like, he's coming out of stasis right as you kill the first guy. So you move on to the second guy, and you kill him, and so on and so forth, right? But that would be like the perfect ideal situation where you catch all 5 heroes like 2 seconds apart in this huge, giant, long Leyline Seal, which is super unlikely to happen. It's much more likely that you catch 1 or 2 and their enemies kind of just move off to the side and stand there to defend them. So I don't think that this ability is going to be good. I think it's just it's too slow. Like, it's kind of easy to dodge, particularly way back here. Might catch a guy or 2 in the first second, but even then, like, it's hard to capitalize on that. I think the polymorph, the what's it called, polybomb is just more reliable and maybe even more impactful. Plus, the cooldown on polybomb is half as much as the 80-second cooldown. Excuse me, on Leyline Seal. So I don't see a world where 2 polybombs is ever worse than a single inconsistent and unpredictable Leyline Seal. So I feel in my bones that polybomb will be the substantially better level 10 heroic for Medivh. But that said, let's go ahead and, since we've looked at his heroics now, all of his abilities are covered, why don't we go ahead and jump into Medivh's talents, starting off, of course, with the level 1 talents. First up is Mana Adept. Increase Arcane Rift's mana refund for hitting enemy heroes by 100%. So this is just a mana save. Like I said, it's 60 mana, which is not super cheap, but it refunds to 30 mana if you hit a hero. So that's pretty cheap. That's more or less spammable without burning through too much of your mana resources. I don't know that that's very good. I mean, it's basically saving you a maximum of 30 mana every time you cast it. Maybe in a world where you're literally just beating on an enemy hero with it over and over again every 2 seconds, that would matter. But I don't know that Medivh is going to be spamming abilities enough. Maybe with Force of Will, but I just don't know that there's going to be enough action for Medivh at any given moment to make mana refunds worth it. I don't suspect he's going to be mana challenged particularly. Then there's Stable Portal. Increases portal duration by 50%. So that would take it from 6 seconds to 9 seconds. Like I said, I don't know that 6 seconds is going to make a huge difference. I think 6 seconds is usually enough for your team to spot it and click it and go through. As long as you're not casting it too early. I think skilled players who know when to use Portal won't need Stable Portal. This is kind of a bailout for people who are casting it at the wrong time. So it's definitely not the best talent choice for skilled people. There's also Portal Mastery. Medivh can manually place both portal locations. Okay, so I actually have to see what this looks like because I don't know yet. So before, remember, it always spawned at our location. And we put one far away, and then the other one spawned at our location. At this point, you can cast them both. So you don't really have to be where you want your allies to go. In other words, you see here, I just kind of put one on the left up here and one on the right. So that's pretty cool because it gives you a lot of positioning flexibility, right? You don't have to commit to something. You can just allow your tank, for instance, to engage on the enemies. You could allow your thrall to more easily dive the back line using portals. You know, you could, if he's standing up there and you want to be safe down here, you can cast one at their back line, cast one here for thrall in the bush, and suddenly he's behind them, killing them. So that's pretty cool, honestly. And you'll note, too, that the duration on the portal does not start until I cast it again. I don't know how long that lasts, but seemingly there's no cooldown on it. So you can kind of like prep this anytime and wait for the exact right moment and like move far away. And even when you're like out of range, you can still put this portal there. So that's crazy. Like you could set up plays minutes in advance if you really wanted. Like if you wanted to commit your portal that long. I don't know if that's visible for the opponent, but it might very well be. But then, just wherever you're at, you move to that part of the screen and you cast a portal. That's crazy, because like even if you're in bottom lane doing scouting stuff as a Raven, and somebody in top lane you suspect is about to get ganked or needs an escape or an engagement, you can cast your portal in top lane, head down to bottom lane, chill out, do your thing, soak, whatever, and then just keep an eye on top lane. Anytime they need help, boom, get out or go in, right? So that seems like a very powerful talent for skilled players. I will say that there is a little extra delay. I mean, if you're very quick at clicking, you'll be fine, but you're technically having to click twice to place a portal instead of once. In other words, this one always spawned instantly in the past when it's just default, so it could slow you down a hair. That's something to keep in mind, but I think the flexibility is so good that I don't know how you can pass up Portal Mastery. There's also Raven's Intellect. Raven form increases Medivh's mana regeneration by 100%. Still not sure you're going to need mana regen as Medivh. I guess in late game scenarios where you're just constantly casting your W, you're going to run out of mana eventually, but it's like, I just don't think it's going to be... It's the kind of ability that you might cast 3 or 4 times in a fight, in a little skirmish, but you're not just going to be spamming it always and forever. So I don't know. It's probably not good in my mind. So Portal Mastery is definitely my choice at this point. So let's move on to number 4, level 4. Up first is Mage Armor. Allies gain block the first time they use a portal, reducing damage taken from the next 3 enemy hero basic attacks by 50%. And this lasts for 5 seconds. That's pretty cool, I'm not going to lie. That sounds pretty awesome, because I can see a lot of ways where you use block as an escape. So, you know, enemies will be chasing your heroes down, and even if they're managed, you know, if there's 2 over here at the portal location and 2 about to gank, even if they come out of the portal here, there's these 2 guys down here working to gank, so that block might make the difference between life and death. But also, I can see it as a really valuable engagement tool. So if you want your Thrall, like I said, or your Kerrigan, or your whatever Zool to jump the back line, using this essentially means that they also get charges of block, which increases their survivability on that first hard engage when the enemies react and try to burn them down. This gives them a little more time to do work and set up plays. So that seems kind of ridiculously good. You could essentially give out 5 blocks to your whole team just by casting Portal, which is nuts. So really strong talent. And my first instinct said this is actually overpowered, but we'll see. Because block is underrated anyway. You only get to use it every 20 seconds, I guess, but still, that's awesome on an ability that's already good. Bird's Eye View is next. It's a 30-second cooldown. Permanently increase Raven form's vision range by 25%. So we got to see this in action, right? We'll check out Raven. I noticed that the Raven has pretty low vision range. It's actually smaller than a standard character's, which is intriguing since it's so high up. But we won't let physics get in the way of Here's the Storm. So there's Bird's Eye View will increase it by 25%. So it basically looks like it went basically back to normal. what a normal efficient range is. So that's nice. But then we can also cast 1. That was not 1. That was my mute hotkey. So forgive me for that. Hopefully we can still be heard. But we'll cast 1, and our range goes to 200%. So you can see basically both towers, and that has a 30-second cooldown. So that's pretty good. How long does this last? Not that long. It's 5 seconds. I don't know. That seems like overkill to me, because you can just fly over here, right? Like you don't have to use this. You can just fly anyway. There's no downside to flying. It takes a little longer maybe, but I don't know that it's worth giving up an insanely powerful thing like mage armor. So I'm going to pass on bird's eye view for now. There's also dust of appearance. Activates reveal enemy heroes in the area surrounding Medivh for 10 seconds. Does not cancel Raven form. So this is kind of a stealth counter, I suppose. That was not the right talent, but who cares? Ah! We're picking the wrong things. So let's see this one in action, right? Does not cancel Raven form. So you can use this in Raven form. We just revealed a Nova. We just revealed a Zeratul. We identified some people that revealed, but that's again just seems super weak to me. It also works out of Raven form, I presume. I guess that's kind of an anti-stealth, anti-gank ability for Medivh, but I don't know, with the shield and portals anyway, I don't think you'll need that. It seems just far worse than mage armor. So let's move on to level 7. I feel pretty good. Right now, it seems to me Portal Mastery and Mage Armor are just vastly superior to the other options. But who knows what level 7 holds. Up first is Arcane Charge. When Arcane Rift damages an enemy hero, excuse me, the next Arcane Rift deals 25% more damage. Okay, so it did basically 400 before, so that means when we're spamming on Arthas, it should hit for about 400, and then it should hit for about 500, because it's 25% extra damage of 400, which is, of course, an additional 100. That hit for 399, and now this one hit for 399. 399. I'm not. Oh, I haven't selected the talent yet, guys. That's always a good tip. Yeah, so 548. Oh, I guess 125 is actually 25% of, well, no, that's not right. I'm not totally sure on the math there. It's hitting for 400. It deals 25% additional damage. It should hit for another 100, right? I don't know how the math is working. I'll be honest with you. 548. 548. So it actually does. It does keep itself. You don't have to reset it, of course. The wording is very accurate. So you can just, if you're hitting every time, it's always going to apparently hit for 548, which is just pretty good. It gives you a little extra punch, but I don't know. I have to see what else is available because that doesn't feel really strong to me. Up next is the Master's Touch. Hit 35 enemy heroes with Arcane Rift without dying. Whoa! That's pretty tough. Permanently increases the damage dealt by 100, so I feel like it should be the same as Arcane Charge, but I don't think it is. Well, we're not going to test it because we're not going to try to hit Arthas 35 times. I guess we actually could. It's not that hard with cooldowns off. So we'll see what this looks like actually. But also it permanently increases the damage dealt by 100, but the cooldown reduction for hitting a hero by 1 second. So right now it's 2 seconds, remember, whenever we hit a hero. So this takes it to, oops, I missed. Arthas, stop wiggling. It seems to make a nice little sound effect whenever you do hit, like a little ding, like you're leveling up your quest, which is cool. Nice little icon, as you might expect. Oh, come back, Arthas. We're at 13 charges, it looks like. We got a ways to go. This basically means when you get this finished, right, that you're going to have pretty heavy hitting ability that you can spam literally every second, which we'll check out in action. So that seems kind of crazy. So if you're hitting it, if you're hitting heroes, you're like dueling somebody or you're really good at hitting this shot, You can basically kind of hide out in a fight and spam it every second. So it's like almost like a Chromie Sandblast or something, but perhaps not as heavy hitting, but even faster. So seems kind of good. We're 31, 32, 33. Come back, Arthas, bro. 34 and ding. Okay, we level up. So that was hitting for $3.99 at its base. Now it hits for $4.99, the expected amount that I think Arcane Charge would have. But also now we can see the cooldown in action, right? Let's check that out with cooldowns actually toggled the right way. Boom! Wow. So yeah, that's the actual speed that you can spam it, which is crazy. We'll go back to level 20 here for consistency. That's really kind of powerful, but I don't know that Medivh is like a spam bot in the middle of a fight, right? So, plus the quest is actually kind of hard. Hitting 35 heroes is tough, especially without dying. I don't know that that's going to work for people. Maybe in a really high skill environment again, you can be rewarded with Master's Touch, but for us mere mortals, I don't think it's right. There's also Arcane Explosion. The first time Force of Will absorbs damage, it deals 401 damage to nearby enemies. That's cool. So when you cast your shield on a guy, let's say your tank, when it takes its hit in the first attack or whatever that it absorbs, they explode for 400 damage. We can actually see perhaps how big this range is ourselves by testing this. It seemed very small. Let's try it on some of these dudes, right? So hit all. You can see the circle there. Actually, that's it's really not a very big circle. I got to be honest. So it might be good, like with a tank or melee assassin, but I don't know how good that is. The circle seems small. 400 damage is not really high damage. It's decent, but it's not like it's gonna make huge plays. Yeah, I don't know. Every 5 seconds, if it's hitting every 5 seconds, 400 damage isn't so bad, but it's gonna be hard to make that work. Yet again, another ability or talent that seems very rewarding to high skill players. There's also Raven Familiar. The Raven Familiar joins allies that use a portal. The Raven will dive at the ally's next basic attack target for 250 damage. Oh, that sounds really cool. Sounds awesome, in fact. So we're gonna portal. Let's heal ourselves up a little first, right? So we're gonna portal. And actually, let's just get... we probably don't need Arthas. We can just use the target dummy. Probably could have used the target dummy for our quest as well. Now that I think about it, that would have been much easier, but it's okay. We like to fight real things. So let's portal, right? We're going to go through the portal. We got a little Raven, and it just jumped right in there at 250. That's actually really cool. If you get your whole team to use a portal, that's 1,000 damage, right? No, that's 1,250 damage. If you all use it, including yourself. So that's really quite powerful. I feel like you can... Now, admittedly, it's only every 20 seconds, unlike Force of Will, which is every 5 seconds. But still, it's more damage. It's if you all come out and attack a single target, like right out of the gate, that's going to be 1,250 points of burst. It's like if you surprise engage a backline hero, they're just dead. Because it's going to be your auto attacks plus the Raven auto attacks. They're just dead. It's just if you kill, like, Jaina... she's dead, because the whole team auto-attacking is probably going to be about 250 auto-attack damage average, plus the 250 from the Ravens. That's like 2,500 damage just off the first auto-attack, not counting any abilities or anything else. So you can just super gank people with this ability. It seems stupidly good to me, and in fact better than these. These two require Medivh to be a little bit more in the action and up in your face, whereas Arcane Explosion and Raven Familiar are a little more passive and allow Medivh to hang out and do his thing, which I think is going to be Medivh's playstyle. Like, I think he's going to be hanging out in the back lines, kind of doing his thing, looking for his moment to make a big play. And each of these reward that, and Raven Familiar rewards it in a more spectacular, dramatic fashion. It rewards it consistently. It's like guaranteed. The Raven Familiar hangs out forever, so you kind of passively benefit from it as well, I guess. So in other words, if even if they don't attack somebody for 15 seconds after they come out of the portal, that Raven Familiar still gives them that little extra, piece of burst when they finally do engage on something. So, like, you could set up your whole team, even if they don't use the stuff right immediately, they all have the Raven Familiar. You find a gank target, boom, that's 750 extra damage from 3 people, so on and so forth. So that seems just ridiculously good. Moving on to level 10, we've already talked about our heroics, so we'll go ahead and just pick one and move on to 13 now. Up first is Quickening, reduces portal cooldown by 50%. Okay, that sounds awesome too, just because we have some really good portal upgrades here, right? We're going to have Mage Armor to give us block. We're going to have Raven Familiar to give us damage, and now we can do it every, it's going to be 15 seconds, I guess? Or is it actually 10 seconds? It's 10 seconds. That's just stupid. That's really, really good. Every 10 seconds now we can cast Portal to make our team like superheroes. We basically just give our team passive buffs every 10 seconds. That's so good. I think this has to be the choice. I just think there's a really strong Portal build happening. Mage Armor's too good, Raven Familiar's too good, Quickening's too good. I might be overestimating the value of these Portal talents, but I don't know. If you're good at using Portal, it seems like you're just going to make your team so much better. You're not a support character, but you're a buffing kind of enabler character, which is awesome. There's also Astral Projection. Increases Portal cast range by 50%. I don't know. It has a pretty long cast range. I'm not really thinking that you need it to be much longer, particularly when a cooldown feels more valuable to me than a cast range. There's also Winds of Celerity. Increases Raven Form's movement speed bonus by 100%. Let's actually pick that, because I bet that's pretty crazy looking. Because remember, it was only 15% before. Does that just take it to 30? Yeah, it's not that fast. I thought it took it to, like, literally 100%. But we're not moving that fast, right? It seems pretty fast, but not crazy. So I don't think that's very good. I don't see a Raven build happening anytime soon. So let's go ahead and move on to 16, because I think Quickening is definitely a favorite for me. At 16, first off, we've got Circle of Protection. An untalented Force of Will is also applied to allies near the target. Oh my gosh, that's good. So you cast Force of Will, and anybody who's really close by, apparently, we can maybe see this with Malfurion if we test this out. Anyone who's nearby also gets Force of Will. So I did not get it there. How close do you have to... Oh, I gotta select the talent first, guys. Let's see if there's a... Oh, there is an animation. So there's like some little ley lines that pop out here to see this in action. So here I got it, but probably right here I won't. Yeah, so it's really close. Your team's gonna have to be super organized to make that work. Like, right on top of each other, which is cool. It's actually pretty cool, but I worry that if you get that close together, right, you're susceptible to AoE damage from the enemy. Like, it's so hard to do. It could be insanely powerful if you got all 5 people and you just negated like a precision strike or something stupid. But that's never going to happen. This is just too hard to work with outside of really organized professional teams. There's also Enduring Will, which increases Force of Will's duration by 33%. So that will take it from 1.5 seconds to 2 seconds. That's a little better, because 1.5 seconds is quite short. 2 seconds, slightly more reaction time for the ally to react to the shield. Obviously negates a couple more things, probably any given instance it's casted. So that one feels pretty good. There's also Reabsorption. Upon expiration, Force of Will heals the target for 50% of the damage it absorbed. That sounds kind of strong too. Essentially just gives you extra healing. As Medivh. So if you cast it on a low health target and people are dumping stuff on them to finish them off, not only do you negate the damage, but you also maybe heal them for 1,000 damage or something to give them a second lease on life. The way man, I'm really losing my voice, excuse me. The way Force of Will works right now, essentially you're just giving them one extra chance at life. Reabsorption perhaps gives them 2 extra chances at life. But I think the problem with reabsorption is that if it becomes a super powerful talent, people might be able to play around Force of Will a little bit and just hold their damage. But I don't know, it's so instantly casted that that's probably not the case. So reabsorption feels pretty good. Enduring Will feels pretty good as well. I can't actually decide which is better. I think I'll have to see them in action. I'm probably leaning slightly towards reabsorption right now. The problem with reabsorption is it's not good if you cast it on a full health hero. Like if your tank's about to engage, you kind of have to wait a second to cast Force of Will to get value out of reabsorption. But the problem with waiting a second is that people will probably be dumping their damage in all at once. So you want to negate like the initial engagement burst, the counter burst that comes out as your tank engages. So that's when you'd cast Force of Will, but then you don't get benefits from reabsorption. You'd have to wait a little bit for your tank to take a few hits, in other words, reduce his health total, then cast Force of Will to deny a little bit of damage, and heal a little bit of damage back. So there's kind of a counterbalancing happening with reabsorption that makes me lean slightly towards Enduring Will. But I think most people will pick reabsorption because the effect is more obvious. Like you're going to see exactly how it works. You're going to get the nice number and the health bar is going to grow. So people will probably lean towards that because it's a more salient reaction of the talent, or I guess expression of the talent, whereas Enduring Will is going to be harder to note the difference between 1.5 and 2 seconds. But I don't think that necessarily makes Enduring Will worse. I think it's just going to be less obvious how good it is. It might become the less popular talent, but maybe not the worst talent. That said, let's go ahead and move on to level 20. It looks like we have 1,000 talents to choose from. Since we have a Leyline Seal selected, let's go ahead and look at Medivh Cheats. That might be a reference to something, but that's a hilarious name. Increase the duration of the stasis effect by 33% and gain the ability to redirect the wave once it's active. Redirect the wave once it's active? How does that work? Did I select it? How does this work? Oh, I see. Okay, cool. So a little timer pops up, right, that allows you to redirect it. And you can do stuff like that. I messed it up a little bit because of the cooldown thing. I don't want to wait 80 seconds to show you every time, but that's pretty cool. So you could even like return it. You could send it down halfway and pull it back, and maybe hit the same target twice. I'm not sure if that's possible because just how long the stasis lasts, particularly with this, but I don't know. I still think the same problems apply. Yeah, you might be able to hit 1 or 2 more targets, but I just don't think that's good in anything but very organized play in very specific situations, particularly given the cooldown effect. Glyph of Polybomb is another option here. Polybomb explodes 1 second sooner, and the spread radius is increased by 25%. So that does hopefully not mean that the duration of the silence is shortened. I think it probably means the silence lasts the full 2 seconds, but the bomb explodes a second early. So the main target is still a sheep, but they have a higher likelihood to... well, I don't know. From that, it seemed like it exploded... I don't know. It seemed like it... let's get cooldowns off here. I'm not sure. I'm going to pull out Arthas. That seemed to have a weird interaction. I'm not sure if it's from the dummy or I'm misunderstanding the talent. Okay, so here's Arthas. I feel like the duration has just... has actually gotten less. I feel like it's a... in other words, yeah, it explodes sooner and the radius is larger, but the main target is actually silenced less time, because 2 seconds is the normal duration. I don't know, that didn't feel like 2 seconds on Arthas, did it? I'm not really sure how to categorize this. It's cool that it spreads faster and the radius is bigger. You're more likely to hit multiple targets, but if it's lasting a second less time, there's a downside to that. So it's really a trade-off that I'm not sure is worth it. I'm pretty curious. Guardian of Tears Fall. Minions and catapults hit by Arcane Rift are instantly killed. That's pretty cool, actually. Gives you really good wave clear. Like, even at level 20, Medivh does not kill minions instantly with his Q. It takes a while, so I don't think his wave clear is awesome, unless you happen to hit heroes with the minion wave. But this one makes his wave clear really good in the late game. Like, it gives him a second layer of utility, because he can just like go back and clear waves. Every 7 seconds he can kill a wave. It's not good for soaking, obviously, because you'll be post 20, you won't really need the soak, but in games where you're defending particularly, if you have somebody who can just kind of go around and clean up waves to keep stuff from getting out of hand and keep lanes from getting too pushed, particularly with catapults, which this also works on, that can be really powerful. Kind of intrigued by this one. I think it might be good, but it's less good if you're ahead, I think. And you're pressuring, because you'll never be around the enemy minion wave. So that might be totally dependent upon the game's state, whether this one's worth it or not. There's also Arcane Brilliance. Cooldown 60 seconds. Activate to instantly restore 200 mana to all nearby allied heroes and grant them 10% ability power for 10 seconds. Are you crazy? That sounds so good. It's a minute cooldown, which obviously is long, but 200 mana is cool, because sometimes your team is like out of mana, and they either got to go back or you got to change your plans. You know, they're worse at an objective. This not only does that, but it grants them 10% ability power. So remember, that's like added up across 5 people. That's 50% ability power on a single person, essentially, or you know, math's a little funky, but that's so good. But again, disorganized teams will not be able to utilize Arcane Brilliance at all. There's nothing they can do. You might hit 1 or 2 people, and then it's just so much worse, particularly every minute. But organized pro teams that say, get together, I'm about to bomb us. Boom, they set up a fight perfectly. Like, imagine a scenario where you cast Arcane, you have a portal ready to go. They all clump up at the portal door. You Arcane Brilliance the whole team. They walk through the portal door. You've got Mage Armor to give them all block. Okay? You've got Raven Familiar to give them all that extra 250 damage. And you've got Arcane Brilliance to give them 10% ability power. They come out of the portal, like near the enemy team or in the enemy team, whatever, you know, whatever scenario, at an objective, something like that. They start a team fight, essentially, hitting 10% harder with all their abilities, which is really good. They do 250 damage to the first target they hit, which is just like crazy burst. If they're organized and pick a single person, that person's just dead. And they don't take as much auto attack damage for the first few seconds from block. It's like an unkillable ultimate death machine. Like the ultimate way to death ball is those 3 talents together. On pro play, that's gonna be crazy. You're just going to be so good at organizing and setting up team fights. Now, in Hero League, Quick Match, whatever, probably never work. In that scenario, invisibility might be better. It sounds pretty cool. 40 mana cooldown. The charge cooldown is 10 seconds. Well, how many charges do you get? We have to pick it to see, I guess. We'll take it. Oh, so 2 charges. Okay. 10-second cooldown on the charges. Stealth and allied here for 20 seconds. That's a long time. I was expecting like 10 seconds. This is pretty crazy. You can even stealth yourself, it looks like, too. Oh, that's really crazy. That's so good to me. Man, that's also good. Imagine giving like your tank this to engage, or your melee assassin to dive the back line. They'll never even know. I mean, they'll know because they can see stealth a little bit, but they're not expecting it, probably, right? They never expect the thrall to pop out of stealth right in their face. That's really crazy good. It's also good for escapes, and it seems like it's just instant when you cast it. That's really, really strong, too. I think invisibility is probably my favorite choice here. In 80% games, Guardian of Tears Fall might be my favorite choice in teams with bad wave clear that are a little bit behind late. And Arcane Brilliance and organized play feels like the best choice. So that's it for Medivh's talents. I'm going to go ahead and put together what I would call like an early build, my first instincts. But remember, I haven't actually played Medivh in a game. This is literally the first I've seen of him. I think Portal Mastery is pretty good. I think Mage Armor is insane. I think Raven Familiar is insane. I think Polybomb's amazing. I think Quickening is really good, particularly with these two talents. So really, we just have like a Portal build right now. I think probably Reabsorption I'm going to go ahead and choose since it's green, and that makes a lot of sense with all our other green stuff. But Force of Will also feels really good. And then I think Invisibility is probably the best choice for most Medivh players. So this is kind of a quick match build, if you will, or a Hero League build. It's not the most beneficial from organized play, but still does support that pretty well, but also allows you to make plays on individual allies too. It's not like a Medivh carry build that focuses on all arcane shards. You're not going to have that much power yourself, but you are going to be awfully good at enabling allies. If you can identify one or two players on your team who seem really skilled and keep making plays, this will give you the tools necessary to help them out and really help them more substantially impact the game thanks to you, which can be a really nice thing indeed. So that's going to do it, I think, for my first impressions of Medivh. I will say he's a ton of fun, incredibly unique ability kit, awesome looking hero, really powerful in the right hands in the right situations. So I don't know that he's going to be a part of like the Hero League metagame, but I can't imagine a world where he's not played or banned in competitive play. And he's going to be fun in quick match too. I mean, the Raven form's so much fun. The portals are fun. The polymorph is fun. He's just a cool, well-designed hero. So so far an A+, but we'll have to see how he handles himself in actual games before I make a real final judgment on how good Medivh is going to be. But I do appreciate all your time. Thanks so much for watching my first look at Medivh, and until next time, game on.